Part 5, Section 34. Lua, who shall live through all the ages. Lua had written often to her dear friend Julie during those last days. When Miss Thompson received word of Lua's passing, it brought back memories of that joyous day long past when both she and Lua had been with Abdu'l-Baha in New York. She has recorded that moment for history. Lua knelt before Abdu'l-Baha and offered our lives for the faith. From this moment on, Lua told the Master, Julie and I dedicate our lives to thee, and we beg at last to die in thy path. Don't we, Julie? Julie never had a chance to answer. Lua was sweeping them both onto the field of martyrdom. Lua couldn't conceive of a Baha'i who didn't long to shed that crimson ink in the path of Baha'u'llah. Juliet tells how eagerly Lua offered both their lives for the Master. We want to drink the cup of martyrdom, don't we, Julie? Before I could answer, Lua continued, Oh, beloved Master, it would be so good for the cause of Baha'u'llah if 2 Americans could die for the faith. Please grant it. She turned to me and said, Take hold of his robe, Julie, and beseech. The Master said, Very good. But this did not satisfy Lua. Say yes, Master, she begged. Oh, Julie, beg him to say yes. I accept the dedication of your lives now, Abdu'l-Baha told them. The rest will be determined later. Now it has been determined, Abdu'l-Baha once said to me. Lua has a tender heart. That tender heart, too anguished, suddenly ceased to beat. In one of the last letters she ever wrote, Lua addressed these words to May Maxwell, whom she had brought into the faith in Paris in 1898. Thus let him who is in the house top not come down, and him who is in the field not turn back. For each one must begin in whatever place he finds himself to face facts and conditions as they are and know that the present environment is the best for his future, be it in the fields all fresh and green or the desert with the dreary burning sands. The final goal to be attained is severance from all else save God, and in his great mercy he puts each one in the place where the painful process may be quickest and best accomplished. Hence I am in Egypt and you are among the snowdrifts of Canada. My only hope, aim or ambition was to go to America and do what Abdu'l-Baha desired me to do. No one will ever know save him in this world what it would have meant had I accomplished it. It seems that God does not accept my life as a sacrifice in his path, yet I long for it with all my soul. If I cannot attain it, all I ask is that you may all succeed where I failed. The link that bound Lua's heart to that of May Maxwell was unique and precious. It is small wonder that when the first word of Lua's death reached her, May wrote an eloquent tribute to this great Baha'i teacher and herald of the covenant of Baha'u'llah. Great and wonderful were Lua's qualities. In her own person she bore the sins and weaknesses of us all, and redeeming herself, she redeemed us. She broke the path through the untrod forest. She cast her soul and body into the stream and perished, making the bridge by which we cross. The passion of divine love that consumed her heart shall light the hearts of mankind forever and forever. For hours I have seen Lua, the woman, the child, May wrote, all love and tenderness, dying far away, alone, far from the land where she sowed the seed from the Atlantic to the Pacific, from the land where she arose like the dawning star, heralding the light of Baha'u'llah in those days when the Occident lay frozen in the grasp of materialism, and far from all those who should have loved her and cherished her as a priceless gift from God. I believe, May wrote, that the last time Lua left her beloved Abdu'l-Baha, she died to all save God and took the step of the soul by which the spirit of truth and reality dawned in the cause in America. May saw a victorious Lua, majestic in her death, the Lua who shall live through all ages, and at the same time saw Lua, the woman, the eager child of the covenant, hungering for ways, however small, in which she could serve her beloved Abdu'l-Baha. May's pen was tender and sad as she wrote. I could only see her frail form, her lovely, sensitive face, her pleading child's eyes. I could only hear the cry of her soul, her yearning for sacrifice in the path of God. Without home, money, or any earthly hope or refuge, after her years of suffering, service and sacrifice, she attained her supreme desire and lay at last a martyr. Part 5, Section 35. A Martyr's Crown. Abdu'l-Baha was filled with great sorrow when the news of Lua's death reached him. The Master was walking one afternoon along the shores of the Sea of Galilee when he received the tragic news of the death of the beloved Lua. One of Abdu'l-Baha's secretaries has recalled the deep sorrow the Master felt at the passing of this great Baha'i teacher. He was deeply affected, he wrote, and felt more than any of us this great loss. Since that day I have heard him more than 100 times exclaiming with a moving voice, "What a loss! What a loss! What a loss!" In a letter which this same secretary of the Master sent to America, it was pointed out how unique a teacher Lua had been. She was one of the very earliest Baha'is in America to travel extensively and raise the call of the kingdom. She was one of the very first pilgrims from the West to visit Abdu'l-Baha in Akka. She travelled throughout the continents of America, Europe, Asia and Africa to spread the word of God. She brought many outstanding souls into the faith, both men and women, who themselves carried on her work with skill and enthusiasm in all parts of the world. She was the only believer who visited the Shah of Persia years ago in Paris and interceded on behalf of the Baha'is in that land as instructed by the Master, Abdu'l-Baha. Lua was a disciple of Abdu'l-Baha. She was taught by him, educated by him, and sent out by him to proclaim the Baha'i faith to the world. Lua was one of the very few souls who visited the Holy Land 7 or 8 times, lived in the blessed household for months at a time, and was considered as one of the members of the Holy Family, one of the daughters of Abdu'l-Baha. All those who knew Lua's true worth were to echo those words of the Master, "What a loss! Abdu'l-Baha cabled to her friends in America. The maid-servant of God, Lua, enkindled with the fire of his love, has passed away. In the latter days of her life, the heart disease with which she had been afflicted became greatly aggravated. He prayed that God would grant the soul of Lua a palace for a home. Then Abdu'l-Baha called upon the American believers to rise up and follow Lua's example. He called her a herald of the covenant and praised her highly for following his command to go forth and proclaim this faith. Lua, that blessed leaf, Abdu'l-Baha said, has been the cause of guidance to many a soul, for she was endowed with a heart that was attracted, a tongue that was eloquent, and she spent her time day and night teaching. At present she is calling from the kingdom, saying, O ye my children, do ye know what bounty I have attained? When her remains were transferred to their final resting place, the guardian of the Baha'i faith, Shoghi Effendi, announced to the entire Baha'i world this event, describing her in these terms. The immortal Lua, mother teacher of the American Baha'i community, herald of the dawn of the day of the covenant. And still today her voice calls out from every land. It speaks through those whose hearts were touched by her, the mother teacher of the West. Her spiritual children and her children's children, enkindled by her flame, lift up their heads in love and delight whenever her name is spoken. They have taken up the torch and will hold it aloft, enkindling new fires of teaching in every land until the entire planet is illumined with the light of Baha'u'llah. So it is that Lua still teaches on earth through hearts which she awakened. They can hear her voice call out that echo of Tahirih, I am the bugle, I am the bell. Lua, homeless on earth, now has in the world on high her palace. This is the promise of her beloved master. Silent in her shrine, her golden eloquence forever stilled on earth, Lua sleeps beneath the dust of a quiet hill in Egypt. Her simple monument looks across the silver Nile to where the setting sun disappears behind the ancient pyramids, those tombs of long-forgotten kings. Far from her native land, this restless spirit, this flame of God, the immortal Lua, achieved her heart's desire and won a martyr's crown.